Are you doing this more of a tax tool? So there, I think to the individual, it's really, really going to be, there could be many different ways to do this. But I do believe that almost everyone that's looking to get into it, there's a good reason to right now due to your specific situation.
Hey y'all, Katie here with Team Evo AZ. Thank you so much for following us and listening to our podcast. Here is season 3, and we are super excited for this season. As you know, we are based in the Phoenix, Arizona area, servicing buyers and sellers throughout the valley. But what you might not have known is we are expanding nationwide. So if you know of anyone that might be looking to get into the real estate business or needs to buy or sell a property, but it is not in Arizona, we can still help. Please feel free to message us and enjoy the show. Hey everybody, it's Katie and
Matt.
And we are here by ourselves today. Are we going to be able to do this? I don't know.
I'm kind of nervous.
Are you? Yeah. You're nervous to talk to me?
I am.
I don't bite. I'll make it a real laid back interview, I promise.
Ooh, okay. Deal.
So back in the day, we used to do this all by ourselves. And then we realized it was fun to bring guests on and talk to them about everything real estate. Because of course, we talk about life and we talk about real estate. And now it's a little funny because we're on our own.
Yeah.
So.
How's life?
Just kidding, guys. We really do have a topic and a wonderful one at that. Talking about investments and how, younger generations or heck, even our age and older generations can jump into the real estate market and start investing in real estate. I've always said that if you look at the world's billionaires, a lot of their investments are tied up in real estate.
Yeah, not even billionaires, just a lot of people that are just prepared. Real estate is a very, very important part of your portfolio. And, especially for our generation, you teeter on the edge of millennial. Actually, you're a Generation X.
Yeah.
I am one of those ones that's like both millennial and Gen X. So, but it's something that's really good to invest in. And we've seen now in my life, at least the last 20 years of being an adult, how much it goes up, how much it goes down, but at the same time, how much it can create in wealth over a long-term investment.
Absolutely. And we've both been landlords for now, 8 years, 7, 8 years, something like that. And we've got a couple of properties ourselves. And it's been mind blowing to me watching those investments perform. It's been a great thing and a great learning experience. And it's an awesome experience for me to gain so that I can pass that along to my clients because, we're here in the trenches ourselves, not only representing people, but we're doing it ourselves.
We're doing it. We're not just talking about it or reading about it. We're actually doing it and have done it successfully. So I do believe we have a really good recipe for that. So
yeah, every once in a while I'll say to Matt, hey, the market's doing great. You want to sell one of the rental properties and go on some epic vacation? And you can imagine what he says to me.
Absolutely not. No, we'll never sell them.
Why do you say that to me, Matt?
Oh, because it's not about now, it's about the future. It's about, especially if you're self-employed, and I don't want to go too much on a tangent on how this will relate to retirement. But if you're self-employed and you're trying to figure out how to structure your retirement, are you doing 401ks and it's based off your yearly incomes and how much do you want to sock away and what's the performance going to be like in the stock market or various mutual funds or whatever tool you decide to use. With real estate, it's more tangible. And it might make sense to us because this is what we do. It's kind of like the shoemaker's shoe, but we, over the last now 8 years, it's confirmed that you do have really, really good control over that. And then when I look to the future, when these things are all paid off and they're just generating a nice little cash flow, when that comes to our retirement, that really makes sense.
We're going golfing, people. We're going golfing.
She's going to take up golf. Hey, let's do it. She's pretty good.
That's true. I've swung a club a couple of times.
Yeah, Top Golf. She did it. She kicked everyone's butt. First time playing golf in combat boots, and she's beating all of us. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. But anyway, here in Phoenix, we're actually seeing some incredible numbers, some incredible statistics over the last couple of years. I've got this slide girl over here that I want to show you guys that.
Slide girl.
Yeah, that shows this. Hold on just a sec. So check this out.
So this is a publication, realpage, inc.com or inc dot whatever. But anyway, RealPage has put this out. It came out probably in the last month or so. And it's got Phoenix as the leader for monthly rent growth. Oh, in April. So yeah, a couple of months ago.
Wow. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
So that's what's going on here in terms of rentals. For every 5 properties we sell, we have 1 rental property that goes. So the inventory for rentals are super low here in the Phoenix area. That's why you're seeing the rental amounts skyrocket. And with that, here right now, as landlords, you can be a little bit more picky. You can, look for the higher income tenant. You know what I mean? You can look for the tenant that has the better credit because you've got more of a variety to choose from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think tenants themselves, anyone on that position that's looking to rent, has also realized that, it's just the nature of the beast. This is what the prices are. Whereas before, even if you go back 2 years ago, where rents really never increased, since we kind of started our rental careers, it stayed stagnant for about 5 to 6 years. And, it'd be very, very, we'll say, unique when you'd run across some tenants. I would say that 70 to 80% of the tenants that would inquire on our vacancies, pre-2019 I wouldn't even spend the time to talk to them because they didn't seem like they were serious, we'll say.
Right. And back a couple of years ago when things, when equities weren't rising necessarily at the rates they are now, when rental amounts weren't rising at the rates they are now, it was okay because those tenants were covering our nut for the properties still.
Oh, yeah.
So we were getting, a little bit less of cash flow during those times, but that was okay because we were building our investment. They were paying for the investment. It wasn't coming out of our pocket. You have your normal living expenses anyway, and that's all that we were covering. So I feel like even during those times when, the cash flow maybe wasn't a crazy amount, it was still a great thing for us to do. And I'm glad that we started that long ago, to be honest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
So what do you think landlords are dealing with now, especially if they're just jumping in now and didn't jump in 7 or 8 years ago like we did?
I think I think probably a little bit of hesitation from a lot, just because they're wondering what their return on investment is going to be. And I think if you're just going to enter into this as an investor, you're really looking at what your cash on cash return is going to be. So, hey, how much are you putting down and what are you going to get? What's your return annually on that? Are you including a speculation on appreciation? Are you doing this more of a tax tool? I think to the individual, it's really, really going to be, there could be many different ways to do this. But I do believe that almost everyone that's looking to get into it, there's a good reason to right now due to your specific situation. Whether you're even a first-time home buyer and you're going out, hey, maybe that first-time home buyer like we've did is you go out and you buy your first home and you know that 60% of it is really based off the future of it being a rental and 40% is off emotion. So you know that, hey, I'm going to buy this home with very little down, which your cash in on it is very low.
Right.
And then you know that within the next, hey, maybe 4 or 5 years, this is going to turn into a rental property. So then when you do turn around and rent it out, you've got a home that has equity. You've got a home that's giving you a great cash on cash return because you went in minimally.
You didn't put much down. Exactly.
You also got to buy that home as owner occupant rates, which they're extremely low right now. I guarantee if you did that and you had that plan right now, in 25 years, when you look back, or even in 20 years, when you look at the rate you're paying and you're going to be doing the river dance.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, heck, we are. Yeah. And that home, we didn't get it at the rates that are being offered right now. Back in the day, we did get it at a little bit lower of a price point than what's going on right now, but that just is a sign of the times. But you got to think about that too. Matt talks a lot about that, sales price or purchase price versus interest rate. Can you talk a little bit about that, Matt? Because a lot of people don't think about that. They're more focused on the sales price of the property versus the tool that they're using to purchase it.
Yeah. And I think, and it's easy to get caught up in that because you're really looking at the short-term kind of results of this. And if you're going in to be a real estate and a rental investor and you only have a 3 to 5 year plan, I wouldn't advise that. I'd be like, you really need to look at your plan. But if you're saying, hey, this is going to be a long haul, a 20, 30 year plan, it's going to be a lot different. And I think that going to your question, which is, what were you asking me exactly on that?
If somebody were to jump into the rental market now, or excuse me, into the investing in rentals now, what's that like for them? What are they having to deal with? What should they expect?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
And I think at the end of the day, it's just going to be preparing yourself based off what you're willing to put forth. I think anyone entering into this rental market, whether you be someone that's saying, hey, I want to buy as a secondary and pay that little bit of a higher rate, or if I'm looking to plan down the road, it's there, all the ingredients are there to win. But you got to be cautious, because if you're not looking at it once again for a long-term play, and you're saying, hey, like you were saying before, that's what it was based off values versus interest rate. And a lot of people feel like, hey, I saw what happened with the market in 2008. It's going to crash. We're going to wait for it to dip. We're going to wait for it to crash. It's not going to. There's too much equity for people to panic sell, and especially Phoenix.
And there's not enough houses.
And there's not enough houses. So there would have to be some cataclysmic event that I don't think we'd be worrying about real estate with that size of an event.
Yeah.
There'd be bigger things. But with that being said, if you really look at the long-term how much you're paying in interest, if you go up 1 or 2% in an interest rate over 25 years, it's ridiculous. It's gonna outweigh that if you're waiting for a 5 or 10% dip in the market. We might see things get flat, but at that point, did rates go up 1%?
It also affects your payment too.
Oh yeah.
And I wish I had the slide girl isn't prepared with the slide today. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I wish I had the slide, because it shows if prices were to fall. I think the figure that was used was like $30,000 or something like that. So if prices were to fall $30,000 and interest rates were to go up a point, you're actually paying more in your monthly payment, is how this particular slide, if I had it, I'll find it and I'll have to paste it to the show notes here so you guys can see. But it's mind blowing, and not a lot of people think about that.
No, and at the end of the day, the value of the home really doesn't matter in this type of investment until you're ready to sell, which if that's in 30 years, you shouldn't even be looking at that. It should just be more about your return, your cash on cash return. And not only that, the risk associated with it. You go and put your money in the stock market, such, you're just kind of holding your breath, putting it out there. You're at the mercy of so many moving things. With the real estate market, it's tangible. You can feel it. You can mitigate, you can lower your risk by getting more involved in scanning your tenants and screening that process and creating deposits to kind of give you less risk. Or if you feel like being really risky and, hey, let's turn that long-term rental into a VRBO or a vacation rental for a couple years.
We've done that.
Or doing stuff like that allows you to pivot based on how much risk you want to take. And with these other investments, you really don't have that capability.
So there's been some changes recently, and with the new administration coming in, there's been some extensions. You had wanted to mention something about that, because it does affect our landlords.
Today, I'm sure if you've been paying attention to the news, you know that the foreclosure moratorium was kind of at the helm of decision, we'll say, with the House in the last couple of days. Well, the CDC and the administration has now stepped forward, and they have gone ahead and moved and extended this till October 3rd. It's hard. I'm not going to pick a side on this, because I know there's a lot of tenants out there that are struggling, that do need help, and that are in a bad position. They've been waiting to get this rental assistance from the government, which is $50 billion, and only $3 billion of that has been spent, which is ridiculous. But then you also have these landlords, where landlords are now stepping up and saying it's ridiculous. I've got people that aren't paying my rent, but I see them going out and buying boats and buying all this other stuff, and they don't care. So I do find it somewhere in the middle. And I think this is a great time that if you are a landlord, and if you're newer landlord, to really look at what's working and what's not, so you can kind of prepare for the future. October 3rd is not far. It's only a couple more months. But it's also good to really communicate with your tenants. If your tenants are slow paying or not paying, there's got to be some emotion involved, and having a really good, clear conversation with them and setting up proper expectations is going to allow you to make that right decision at the end of this on October 3rd, whether you decide to kick them out or whether you decide to work with them and help them try to, get back on their feet, get some of this money back that's owed and whatnot. And that's really going to depend on that specific situation. But I think communication is the main ingredient to make it work.
What I love about you is lots of things, hubby. But so Matt handles the communications with our tenants and handles our properties. And what I love about him is he definitely practices what he preaches. He does get into relationship with these people. He does communicate very, very well with them. And then they reciprocate that.
Yeah.
There was a time in our very first house that we were just talking about where we had some tenants that were cute as a button, little family in there. They had been in there, a couple of years, and they had suffered some situations with their job where they weren't able to pay on time. And we had to sort of float them a little bit. And that wasn't anything that we had to do. It wasn't government mandated or anything like that. But based on that relationship that we had with them, that ended up working out really well. Those tenants ended up leaving our home probably in better condition than what they got it. They did some work to it while they were there. I really, really recommend, don't breeze by that advice right there. If you're looking to get into investments in real estate, really, really understand that part of it. And that relationship is incredibly valuable.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, when they get into especially becoming a landlord for the first time, they really look at it from a black and white type of stance, almost like this investment type stance that I don't want to have any relationship and I want everything to be very much black and white. And when you start doing like that, you don't really get a chance to communicate and set proper expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many expectations that need to be put forth. It's like, hey, if you ever run into trouble, I want to be someone that helps you, not someone that you're scared of.
Right.
And if you set it up that it's so black and white, they don't end up sharing with you the things that they end up holding it close to their chest until it's too late, instead of feeling like they can be proactive and come forward and you're going to be someone that helps them versus makes it worse.
It's like raising kids.
Just like raising kids. It really is. But I do think that's a great analogy. And it's awesome because at the end of the day, you do feel that connection on where you're both helping each other. They're helping us with our investments. They're helping us take care of our house that we really, really love and share so many memories with. And we're helping them with their life and creating memories and a place to call home. They also know that, if something breaks, they're not dealing with a jerk. But you also know that, hey, if something breaks, if it's at your own fault and you're doing things that are, not, we'll say, home ownership 101 and you're being neglectful, that at that point it is your responsibility and you're not going to just throw it on my shoulders. So that's where expectations are huge. And knock on wood, we're great. Even through the pandemic, we've just had amazing tenants and we are very, very thankful.
It's because of that relationship. I 100% believe that. And when I'm talking with clients that ask me my advice on, hey, should we, keep our current home and throw a tenant in it? We've never done this before. We're super scared. Like, what do we do? What's your advice? I have this conversation weekly, right? With many. And that's always my biggest advice, is make sure that you develop a proper relationship and set expectations with that tenant and be in their lives. Like, don't come over for dinner, but be a part of it and be, involved.
Yeah.
And that is really going to help you out in the long run. We had, there's only one tenant that I can think of, and we've had many. There's only one that I can think of that was kind of a little bit iffy, kind of gave us some attitude and a little bit of trouble, but in the end, and it all ended up working out all right. And again, I attribute that to your relationship.
Yeah. So. And you learn, you know what I mean? And sometimes you can hear someone like us tell you how to do it. You can read it in books and all that, and you're not going to learn it until you do it.
That's the thing.
But I don't think that should be something that should deter you from this type of investment. If anything, it's just going to expand your mind, expand your experience. And that's what makes good investments at the end of the day. So
yeah. And have some little, tricks up your sleeve. I know that there are a lot of people that are also worried of the expense of it. Well, what if they trash my house, this, that, and the other thing? So you want to make sure that you take proper deposits up front. You want to make sure that your lease agreement has those provisions in it to protect you and to protect your home.
And there's so many other ways that you can even be proactive at that stance. Is, hey, if you sense that, hey, these tenants that we have in there might not be the demonstrating, we'll say, pride of ownership. That's when you can actually then be proactive and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to come in. I want to make sure all the plumbing connections are good and tight, all these things. Whatever. Because at the end of the day, there's only so much damage a tenant can do to a home. You know what I mean? Just in wear and tear, unless they just want to be straight, hateful. But as
And
far
then you
as
can sue them.
yeah, but at that point, we're just talking about normal proactive things that you and the investor can sleep well at night.
Mm-hmm.
So by doing those type of things and coming in or having that conversation where at the first of every month, hey guys, make sure you change your AC filters. If you need something or let me know. Don't be hesitant to do that.
Another little trick that we do that I think works quite well, and I actually just got correspondence yesterday, is we will build into our rental amount pool service, pest control. And so we're sending over our pool service person, we're sending over our pest control person, and we know them, right? We're good friends with them. We have great relationships with them. And they tell us what's going on over there.
Yeah,
And
so you got eyes and ears.
Exactly. So yesterday, our pool gal went over and checked out one of our properties, and she sent me a picture of the pool and said, the pool looks great, backyard looks great, everything looks fine over here. And it's just makes my heart happy that we have some extra eyes on the property. So just a little tip there. We have many other tips, by the way.
Just reach out to us if you have any. Because we've done it. We've pretty much encountered every situation possible.
Or our clients have, and we've guided them through it.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. So other than that, that's pretty much all I have, I would say, on rentals. There's a lot more. We could talk for hours. I love this stuff. But once again, I do think that especially if you are a millennial, and you're starting off and you're wondering if, hey, buying a home is the right thing right now. I think you should have kind of two buckets on that. Buying a home to call it your home, to have that emotional satisfaction of owning a home. But I also think it should be equally weighed out with the future, with that being an investment. I think it's huge.
That's a great point. I feel like a lot of us, especially a lot of us in our younger years, approach home buying with the mindset that we're finding our dream home.
Yeah.
The first time around.
Yeah.
Probably aren't.
Yeah.
And it's probably not a good idea to.
No.
Dream homes come a little bit later.
Yeah. And I think if you can adjust that mindset proactively, you're going to go into this so strong. And I mark my words, 5-10 years down the road, you're going to be like, oh, I'm so happy I did that. Not only from the investment itself, but the wealth of knowledge that you'll get from that experience.
I 100% agree. You will thank us later. All right, everybody. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, please follow us. Our handle is @TeamEvoAZ, and we are on the Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and maybe TikTok at some point if we.
Maybe, yeah.
He's a millennial, so he should be doing the TikTok, not the Gen Xer, right? This old girl. What do we know about that? But anyway, we are on all of those platforms. Please give us a like and a follow while you're there. Shoot us a quick message if you think you would be a great guest on the show. We would love to hear from you. And while you are at it, especially while you are listening right now, people, right now, go to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to Real with Matt and Katie so that you can be notified every time we have a new show. And that is typically every 2 weeks, unless we're on vacation, just so you know. Please, while you're there, it is pretty rare. Please download. That's why I wanted to sell one of the houses and go on an epic vacation. Okay. So please download the episodes while you're there, if you would, because that way we get a little bit of credit for it. And the internet gods out there will push the real info out to the real people. And that's what we want.
Yes.
All right, guys. Until next time.
Ciao.
Bye.